A team of opposition members of parliament are in Manipur. The BJP, or at least some of its leaders, are calling it political tourism. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. Manipur continues to occupy our headlines as it should. But has the politics now overtaken the human tragedy? Instead of our media being focused on what is happening on the ground, which is killings, murder, rape, accounts of which are only just coming out. Most of these assaults, terrible assaults, took place actually in the first week of May. The focus has quite specifically moved to the politics of it. The opposition has moved a no confidence motion against the Modi government to compel the Prime Minister to be present in the House. The opposition is targeting the Prime Minister for his silence. Meanwhile, an opposition delegation is in Manipur, and the BJP says they're not concerned with the tragedy of the people of Manipur. They're concerned only with making political points. The politics, of course, is one part of the story. The human tragedy is the more important part, but the two have now got distinctly and swiftly intermixed. Let's introduce our guests on the program today as we look at both the political morality and the absence thereof, and the politics of what's happening not just in Manipur, but a lot of the politics is happening outside Manipur. Joining us from the BJP is Asif Bhamla, its national spokesperson. Good to see you, Mr. Bhamla. Arati, Jerath, veteran journalist, is with us. Always a pleasure. From the Congress, joining us is Wing Commander Anurag, spokesperson of the party. Welcome to the program, ma'am. We're also joined by political analyst Anurag Naidu. Welcome back. And also joining us is Yashwant Deshmukh, leading psephologist and political analyst. Always a pleasure, Yashwant, to have you back with us. I want to go straight into what we're seeing happening. Now, let me actually start with Arati to get a kind of perspective that is stepped back from the politics. The opposition is going to make the point, we've gone, you haven't. The BJP will say, Amit Shah was among the first to go. You just want to score political points. You're not concerned with the suffering of the people of Manipur. Otherwise, you would have attended the all-party meeting. You would have responded to demands for a debate inside the House when Amit Shah was ready. How do you see it, Arati?
Barkha, frankly, I mean, I think none of the politicians really care about what's happening in Manipur. I mean, we can see that the government's response has been very, very cursory. And in fact, the government did not respond at all for about 2.5 months. It was, I mean, yes, Amit Shah went, but was there very briefly. And then there was, one kind of a, peace meeting, which both the warring communities refused to be a part of. And you didn't see any really serious effort being made by the government to address the crisis that had engulfed Manipur. And yes, the opposition also is obviously trying to make hay, out of this, and going to try and put the government on the defensive. But Barkha, look, I mean, yes, there's a lot of politics that's going on, but I feel that let the politics go on. If that's the only way that we can talk about Manipur, if that's the only way that we get to hear about what's happening in Manipur, if that's the only way to get Manipur into the headlines and into the conscience of mainland India, then let the politics go on. I mean, I'm not going to quibble, about somebody going or not going, or opposition members trying to, put the government in the dock by going there. I'm not going to fight about that, because at least today we are talking about Manipur. Today, Manipur has pricked the conscience. It's a faraway state. Most of the time, the Northeast doesn't even figure in the consciousness of the rest of India.
So I guess, Arati, sorry to interrupt you. What you're saying is, yes, the opposition will play its hand of politics, but if that is helping in foreground the issue in the national media, in the national conversation, so be it. All right, let's take that to the politicians. Asif Bhamla, the opposition has got an opportunity to train its guns on the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister may well, obviously the numbers of the no confidence motion are a foregone conclusion. So this is not about the numbers. The Prime Minister may well make a compelling speech in Parliament, may well emerge even stronger than ever. But yet people might wonder, what does he have against actually taking part in a debate? What does he have against it? How would you respond to that?
Well, first let me answer what to Arati, Jerath. I have a lot of respect for her. But coming back to what you said, that the Northeast is not looked upon by either of the political parties in a much serious way. Let me tell you that I'm coming up to the real issue also, but let me tell you, after Modi ji had come to power, we had a policy derived fast and first. And if you see, this happened in the east of Shillong. And not only that, 50 times the Honorable Prime Minister has visited, and there is much development. You see, earlier opposition came up with an argument. Said, today there are 16 airports, highways created, there's train going from Manipur, and there's a ray of light and prosperity. And this is something which the opposition cannot digest, and they cannot take this के एक नॉर्थ ईस्ट जो एक पिछड़ा हुआ हिस्सा रहता था देश का ये आज अचानक से क्यों बढ़ता बट अ रेप इज अ रेप and that has to be addressed and definitely the prime minister also must and I am sure and confident that before the end of this session will come and address unlike the opposition which claim to be India and who are busy touring the Manipur to just have the eyeballs and to just gain sympathies. We saw how Rahul Gandhi was shunted the way in Manipur, and this is a similar way. The sentiment that the sentiment that the people have in Manipur, the same. I've heard the sentiment recently of eminent Father Oswald Carnival Gracious, who said that this was a tribal conflict which was given a religious twist and we have to ensure we have to ensure that we don't do things to ensure that this gets worse.
Okay,
but that doesn't matter to our member of parliament. They will go there, they will create their photo op, and that's all they were there to do. But as I said, there's no good rape and a bad rape. A rape is a rape. So there are similar instances.
I first want to tell you, Mr. Bhamla, I must interrupt now. There isn't one rape. We at Mojo Story have documented that on the same day, on the very same day, in fact, as what happened, the sexual assault in the Manipur viral video took place. There were two young women. These are their pictures with their identities withheld, who worked at a car wash as the main breadwinners of their family. We spoke to the mother of one of these women. Their bodies are still lying in a hospital morgue. They were raped on the 4th of May. They were killed on the 4th of May. The FIR was filed on the 16th of May, and no arrests have been made. So let's first be very clear. We aren't talking about one rape. We are talking about possibly countless, and we've documented several of them. 1 minute, Mr. Bhamla. You can respond. Let me just get the others in. Wing Commander Acharya, yet the question will be asked, and it must be asked. The Home Minister is not a lightweight. He's easily the second most powerful person in this government. He appealed to the opposition, let us have the debate. The opposition said, no, we will not have the debate without the Prime Minister present in the House. Why did the opposition take that position? That's when the BJP gets to say, you're not serious. You're not serious because why do you need the Prime Minister present for the debate to take place?
Barkha, he is the head of the country. He is the head of the parliament. Why should he not answer that? Haven't you seen the kind of rage this BJP spokesperson was projecting? Is it correct on his part? We are talking about, nobody from the opposition went before when Rahul Gandhi had gone himself. Before that, Mr. Amit Shah has gone. There was a peace committee was formed up. Peace committee had 6 meetings. Do you know what are the outcomes of that meeting? Lots of members of the peace committee are distancing themselves from that committee. Even Rajyapal Anusuya Uike is not able to come out and say what happened after those committee meetings. Then there was an all-party meeting by Mr. Amit Shah. And in that, when opposition raised the issue of mob violence, the government officials present there started saying, no, Mr. Amit Shah was awake till 1 o'clock and he did take the stock of situation. And one of the members had to say that we are not here to know the timetable of Mr. Amit Shah. Mr. Amit Shah has failed tremendously as the Home Minister of the country. And therefore, at the next level, opposition wants the responsibility has to be taken up, fixed up, and Prime Minister to come and address. Why can't Prime Minister speak about Manipur when he can speak on a prepared
I don't disagree with you that the Prime Minister should speak, but I am asking you, why should that stop you from taking part in a parliament debate? I agree the Prime Minister should speak. Start the
Okay, I will.
debate. Start the debate.
Okay,
Now, of course,
okay,
it's no confidence motion. The
okay.
Prime Minister will have to speak. He will be there. He will speak. But, people will say, people will ask this, right, Anuma ma'am?
Barkha, you remember it very well that 15th June, Mr. Jairam Ramesh has taken a press conference and in which he has said we will be exclusively in the monsoon session, we will be talking and we want a discussion on Manipur issue. After that, the opposition requested under Rule 267, wherein a bigger issue is discussed. But the government wanted to just somehow manage the discussion under Rule 167, under which the smaller discussions take place. Isn't it such a big issue? The state of our country is burning. There is a violence still reported, still being erupted. So therefore, we want that it has to be spoken with that much of gravity, that much of sincerity, that much of details.
Okay.
That is what the opposition wants.
I want to bring in Yashwant and then Anurag. Yashwant, politically, the cynical take is that this is two members of parliament. That is why it could have, it was ignored for till the moment that viral video jolted an entire nation. It wasn't exactly ignored, but it wasn't in the national headlines like it is today. However, let's remember, this is a border state. It shares a border with Myanmar. You have a former army chief today talking about the national implications, possibly a China hand. You have a spillover effect. It's already taking place, shades of it in Assam and Mizoram. And you have, above all, an inflection point where the suffering of women and children in particular has broken 1 billion hearts. Why do you think that this is a moment for a political stalemate? Why can't we see for 5 minutes the government and the opposition stand together on this issue? I think that is what the people of India would want and expect.
Well, Barkha, let me start with two things very quickly. Number one, that those who know Northeast probably would tell you that Northeast of India has more fault lines than entire Middle East, Southeast, and Far East put together. It's a way more complicated place than anybody can ever think of, number one. Number two, I totally agree with Arati here that, even if it is politics, sheer, blunt politics, which is putting this into the news, let it be. I am more than happy for the Northeast to take a center stage and, shake the conscience of 1 billion people, because this is a country where Northeast has been so far away for 75 years from our collective dialogue and our collective consciousness from personally speaking, Barkha, and I want to tell to you viewers, in the last 29 years as a pollster in my personal, my professional life as a founder of Sea Voter, we have done non-stop polling in Northeast, but not a single poll in 29 years has been ever commissioned by any of the media houses, Barkha. We put our own money because we do not want Northeast to be left out. It was Sea Voters' conscious decision that no, we will not leave Northeast out. Even if we have to put our money, we will poll there. So that's the kind of sincerity that the mainstream media or the mainline media or any media whatsoever has ever put in the Northeast on the plan. So when we ask, and by the way, it's not that rest of the India doesn't want to know and is not involved. When we did a snap poll after the Manipur, rest of the India, a huge majority of the Indians were concerned. They went on to say the chief minister should resign. And not only the huge majority in Sea Voter snap poll said that actually the state government should be, you should put a president rule. They should just fish out that state government because they felt that it's a failure out there. So people are involved. As Arati said, that no matter how ironical it may sound, but I am actually happy even if this is bringing this entire Northeast on the mainframe. And this is one of the few debates, Barkha, where actually there are points to be agreed on both sides of the fences. I agree with few points of BJP spokesperson and a quite significant number of points of the Congress spokesperson as well. It is a big fact that in the last almost 9 years, Modi government has probably put Northeast into their mainframe category more than any government that we have seen, in that way. It is also true that the politics of Northeast has been, probably because of the emergence of the BJP, has been discussed. I remember Tripura poll numbers making headline in far south in Kerala, in Malayalam newspapers. That we have never seen. But at the same time, what Congress spokesperson is saying is also the blunt fact that there have been failures at so many levels. And we need people to own up those failures, to say that, okay, I am responsible.
Yeah.
And this probably parliament session, I mean, optics apart, I think the opposition should join the debate. Let the country listen to the debate. Let the country also be aware of the fault lines in Northeast. It is for the first time. It's a public education program, Barka. For the
Absolutely.
rest of India
And
to
I think it's
understand.
so, I think it's so telling what you say that in 29 years, no media house has commissioned you to do a poll in Manipur. You've done it on your own steam. And the media, all of us as journalists also stand complicit and culpable in our neglect of the region. And we must concede that today and not pretend to be overnight experts on a region that we have ignored for
Exactly.
so many decades. But Anurag, just at the level of common sense humanism, nothing else, common sense humanism, look at the people who've been impacted. We did a story that really, I'm saying it myself, but I want to own the work we did on this. We did a story that I think set the agenda and managed to get the person in question some help. I'm talking about BJP's MLA Wungzagen Walte, who was crippled and paralyzed in a mob attack. And when we showed the way the family was struggling, I'm happy to report that we've got an assurance from the Manipur BJP that all the hospital bills of the family will be covered by the state government. So this is a BJP MLA. Then there is an army veteran, 28 years in service, fought in Sri Lanka, Kargil. He's the husband of one of the women we saw in that viral video. Then there's a freedom fighter's wife, right? And I'm saying some of these victims are Kuki, some of them are Methi. The freedom fighter's wife was a Methi. The BJP MLA and the husband of the survivor on the tape on the viral video is Kuki. Suffering is taking place in both communities. The human question I have is, I would want my prime minister to speak. I want him to speak. I want to hear my prime minister. He's the leader of the country. This is a human question. This is not a Congress BJP question. Anurag.
Well, I absolutely agree with you, Barkha, and I've also seen your images from Manipur. Been following your Twitter handle. But let me put this in a perspective, Barkha. There is nothing wrong in demanding Prime Minister's statement on this, but there is a process set in the Parliament. There is a precedence, and of course, this issue is very big. By the time the Parliament session started, it flared up into a very big controversy. Now, RTG spoke about there is no serious concerted effort from the Home Minister. The Home Minister has failed. It is very easy to say, but every government has its own modus operandi. If you see the Home Minister's modus operandi, he's not really somebody who goes out and calls the media, "Chalo, I've come for a negotiation. Please set up your cameras. Let's cover and everything. And I'm going to tell you after the end of my day, how did the day go?" So we have a Home Minister who pretty much does things at the back door, and he has his own way of dealing with things, and that's exactly why I personally believe that Mr. Biren Singh, who is supposed to be left out, who is supposed to be asked to resign immediately, has not resigned for simple reason, because of there is a high amount of complexities in the negotiation that is involved. So we have to also respect the complexity of negotiation, sensitivity of the topic, and why the government is taking time in putting out the statement. They have their own way of dealing it. Now, for once, let's also put our differences aside. Have we heard anything from the opposition that today, okay, I'm going to give you another 15 days, but we as an opposition, India is going to stand with the Home Minister of the government. Let us also be a part of this team, and we are ready to go with you and accompany you, be a part of the consortium that is going to go and solve this problem. And if you don't solve it in a stipulated time, then we go all out and oppose you. Now, the government has accepted for a debate under 167 or 276. Now, the whole fight is, the point is they have accepted for a debate, and you don't want to have debate. That itself shows that your intentions are not clean. Your intentions are made to create an optics. The whole contention is just for once. Let's create an optics because it is Home Minister in a sticky wicket, because it is Prime Minister, the invincible in sticky wicket. Let's take this opportunity and attack them. So
you're
is
saying
actually not going to help.
that the aim, okay, hang on. You're saying the aim is target Modi, not care about the people of Manipur. Let me get Anuma Acharya to respond to that. Wing Commander, go ahead, ma'am.
This is a very insensitive statement to make, and the same thing is happening with BJP government all along. Why opposition is going today alone? Because in the all-party meeting, Amit Shah has never invited anybody to go along with them, and therefore the opposition is, what are they going to achieve? They are only going to listen to the people. Listening is also a process of healing. They are the victim of an organized mass violence, and they have a sense of non-belonging which needs to be healed and subsided. Going to tell them that you belong to us, and a ray of hope needs to be reaffirmed there. That is why the opposition is going. The idea of India is resilient. Resilience, that means inclusive of all, and everybody knows that what is happening. And do you remember, Barkha, in 1993 when the Congress government has suspended the Kumar Biren's government when they could not control the violence? There were 1 year, there was a president's rule. I'm surprised that the president of India, a very empowered woman herself, the president of NCW, another empowered woman, the minister of women and child development, another empowered, and the uh, uh, governor of that state, who has been at least speaking, none of them is able to advise government or issue a statement, or just I've seen Swati Maliwal of Aam Aadmi Party. She went there, stood with them. So that same thing could have been done by Bharatiya Janata Party also. When they are doing no action, therefore the opposition is asking these questions. If government was doing everything by themselves, who would have asked that?
Let me get Mr. Bhamla to come in before I go back to Arati and Yashwant and Anurag on this. Mr. Bhamla, it's honestly for me, I'm only asking a question that I think echoes Yashwant's See Voter Snap poll. People who don't understand where Manipur is, even they may not know who is Kuki, who is Methi. What they know is people are suffering. Women's bodies are being used as a battlefield. 32 babies have just been born in a relief, in relief camps. They simply want this moment to not be about politics. I think they don't want party politics, and they would support the dismissal, that is Yashwant's snap poll showed that, of a government that is proved to be incompetent, because we are not talking 1 week or 2 weeks. We are now in the third month, sir. It has been 3 months. This violence started on the 4th of May. We are almost on the 1st of August. Why
You
not
see,
president's rule?
No, I understand. Let me submit the statement that the Honorable Prime Minister made कि यदि वो outside the Parliament, that यदि वो पाताल में भी छुपे हैं तो उन्हें पकड़ के लाकर सजा दी जाएगी. Okay, and let me also remind the Congress spokesperson that what Sheila Dikshit said when there was Nirbhaya, it has been blown out of proportion, and the same TMC who now they're all claiming to be in India in itself, between 2012 to 2014 did a huge andolan against the Congress in Manipur. But anyways, they've all forgotten all of that. But yahi tourism क्यों ये Rajasthan में भी नहीं करते? Why is there only cherry picking, and why only a selective outrage? I am asking today. Let me put forth 3 instances in Karoli in Rajasthan. A 19-year-old girl, I'm sure you're aware about this, Barkha, was flashed acid on her face and killed, put to death. Her body was showered into was thrown away into the well. Neither of the so-called parties who are now touring there, who claim to be so-called India, घोड़े का नाम गधे का नाम घोड़े बना देने से वो घोड़े की तरह दौड़ने नहीं लगता, ये अलग बात है. मैं आपको दूसरी एग्जांपल दूंगा. जोधपुर, which is a home town of the chief minister, a Dalit girl. There was a Samohik Balatkar that happened there. No, there's nobody to ask. I mean, forget that. Okay, लड़की हो लड़ सकती हो, आपका नारा है. आपने टूरिज्म के आपने यहाँ 10-15 मेंबर पार्लियामेंट गए. यहाँ पर आपके 1-2 मेंबर पार्लियामेंट तो जा ही सकते थे. या नहीं, यहाँ तो और कुछ नहीं तो मुख्यमंत्री ये कहते रहे कि भाई दलित जो महिला है वो तो तकरार करती रहती है. No, one last second. Jawaharlal Meena, who was a Congress MLA, his son gang raped a Dalit child, and there was no action. Satta Bachao is the Nara, not Beti Bachao. Sorry to say, Barkha. So why cherry picking and why different narrative?
Okay. Before Yashwant responds, I just want to say one sentence. In let's please have a special session of parliament on crimes against women. I will be the first one to support it. Let's talk about crimes against women in every state. However, what is happening in Manipur is an institutional collapse of administration. Please let us make no mistakes about it. The entire government, every unit of governance has been split along ethnic lines except the Indian army, sir, with respect, which is the glue that is holding the state together right now. Please let us not conflate the Manipur situation with, you can name BJP states and I would say the same thing. Please let's talk about crimes against women in a separate session of parliament devoted to talking about crimes against women. Mr. Bhamla, Yashwant has wanted to come in. Hang on, sir. Hang on, sir. I'll give you a chance. Yashwant, please go ahead. Yashwant. Can we unmute Yashwant? Yeah, go ahead.
Barkha, with all due respect, to all the panelists and particularly the BJP spokesperson, nobody is denying what he said. Just 2 days back, our poll in Rajasthan came out. We asked this question. Majority of the Rajasthan people said that the state government has failed in law and order over there as well. And the poll clearly says that they are going to pay the price by nobody knows in the coming assembly elections. So that part of the thing is nowhere going out in the oblivion. It is making news. It is very much in the national media. It is being discussed. But what I feel that, by putting that in equation with Manipur, I think that please don't do it. I mean, that's my personal request to you, sir, because we are talking about altogether different, situation in Manipur. I totally agree with you. And still, I am requesting you not to put it over here in this particular program, and because we are
I
just trying to.
I think you have said it better than I have. That of course we see what is happening in these states, Bhamla sir, but we don't see it as the same situation as Manipur for a variety of geopolitical as well as institutional reasons. Yashwant, am I correct?
Yes, absolutely, and yes, I agree with even the Congress spokesperson. I mean, honestly, even if the sheer political messaging of it or photo opportunity, even if the crude politics, Barkha, becoming normalization, I mean, that's also kind of a process of normalization. Let me put, I mean, it might sound really crude to the ears, but even sheer politics of this thing is also a part of the normalization process. That's how I look at it. I have worked in way too many conflict areas across the globe, Barkha, and I know this is also a part of that healing process. This is also a part of the process of taking everybody along.
And at least it's a part of ending the invisibilization
Exactly.
of the Northeast. But I think Arti's wanting to come in. Arti, do go ahead. Arti.
Yeah, Barkha, I'm afraid, and this is what is really distressing me about the way the discourse is going. There is this voyeurism now that I see, amongst all our politicians. Oh, there was that rape in West Bengal and that rape in Jodhpur, and you're coming out with all these details, gruesome details. You're going on and on television, in parliament, on wherever. I mean, there is a kind of vicarious thrill that these politicians seem to be deriving from describing in great detail all the rapes in opposition ruled states. I mean, as you have said, as everybody is saying, I mean, Manipur is not just, it's true that it's that video that brought Manipur to national attention, but Manipur goes way beyond the attack that was made on those two women, horrific as it was. It is a much bigger crisis. And can we please stop this voyeurism, describing rapes in detail in Jodhpur, in Rajasthan, in Bengal, in Chhattisgarh? I mean, can we please stop this? It is distressing to me as a woman to hear this again and again and again.
I agree and respect, I think, the sentiment with which you're speaking. Anurag, I see you agreeing as well. You may have a different political leaning, but I think that's the point everybody's trying to make, that some moments in a country's life transcend how people vote. Nirbhaya was one, Manipur is another, but I think Arti and Yashwant have made a very important point. The viral video and what happened to the women may have brought the country together. That doesn't mean that Manipur is a problem of crimes against women alone. And that is what we have to understand. Anurag, go ahead, please.
Yes, Barkha, I would totally agree with both of them, and I've been on so many shows on Manipur. I've not for once I've taken this comparison. I totally hate to the nail, this comparison, and I'll be totally ashamed if I even make any comparison with Jodhpur or any part of India for that matter. We are discussing Manipur, and the optics, if you see Barkha with the mob. That is not an optics that we would like to have in India. Particularly, I travel so much, abroad. It has not sent a good signal. And I've told on many shows, the solution people is asking, what do you suggest the solution be? I said, first of all, we all should strive for the peace. Let there be a full-fledged army and everything. Mr. Biren Singh should resign, and there should be a women chief minister in place of Biren Singh to send a larger message that the women should rule and lead the Manipur going forward. But also, Barkha, my objection is somebody from the Congress said, हमको बुलाया कब गया अमित शाह तो हमें मिलते नहीं है whatever. I mean, saying for the government or a home minister, for anyone to invite you, also you should be dependable enough and you should prove yourself that you are here really to help and not having any other intention. But what I disturbingly feel, and I can Mr. Yashwant also can correct me, when they tossed up this concept of India INDIA, they're using every possible platform thereafter to promote and propagate, make this India unity, put a frame that India is against this, India wants this. So let's not use this platform to brand, India, promote brand India. If you're really genuine about supporting the government, I've asked Mr. Kharge to put out and go out to say, okay, we're supporting, we are giving another 1 week, Mr. Shah. We are not going to be ranting outside the parliament. We're going to be just sitting idle. Let's give us another 7 days. And if you're not doing it, then we're going
last comments. Let's get last comments to what Anurag has said. Please keep your comments brief. We're at the closing end. Wing Commander, let me start with you. I think this is an opportune moment for an all-party delegation to Manipur. I wish this had been an all-party delegation. That doesn't mean the opposition is not entitled. That doesn't mean one doesn't welcome the fact that the opposition is there on the ground. But this moment calls for political unity. And I will say it, this moment calls for president's rule. This is my own opinion added on there. Go ahead, Wing Commander.
I fully agree with you that the president rule is essential at this moment, rather vital. Once Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan had said that moral majority is equally important to that of the legislative majority in the parliamentary democracy. So I think that by opposition is gone there and we are not in majority, we won't bring out any solution to this, but definitely to the people of Manipur, they know that people are with them, and this is the inclusivity the opposition is showing them. Just that.
Asif Bhamla, an all-party delegation. Let's say the Prime Minister had said in that statement outside Parliament, I appeal to all political parties to stand as one at this moment. Let us stand as one. Let us show empathy for what the women of Manipur and other victims and survivors have gone through. And I am calling on the leader of the opposition to immediately meet me for an all-party meeting. Do you not think this debate would have taken a very different direction, sir?
Let me come on the other side. I guess you yourself proposed that India wants to see the ruling and the opposition together, at least to come on a common page for an issue like this, which is a critical issue for everything. Like I did in an opening statement, a rape is a rape and it cannot be justified, and it will not be justified. With due respect, I'm again repeating it. But again, the Honorable Home Minister has already done the walk of the talk, and I have said that the session is not over. Yet the Prime Minister has given a very strong statement, and you've seen that the situation today is, I won't say it's a normalcy, but it's better than what it was. But let me tell you also this, that when was the last that we heard that there were ethnic violence or riots there in the Northeast from the last 9 years? Not a single violence, not a single bullet. Northeast, whenever there were elections that used to happen, there used to be either burn or a blast, if you have noticed, and I think the country has witnessed it. We have witnessed elections now in Tripura, Assam, other parts of Northeast, and not a single bullet fired. But that doesn't mean that what's happening in Manipur now is going to be tolerated, will be accepted by the people of the country or by the ruling dispensation. There is need to rise to do more, and as a government, I am sure we are confident on our Prime Minister, and when he will speak, I am saying कि आप लोग फ्लोर के पटल पर क्यों बात नहीं करते? ये आप चर्चा जो आप करते हो, आप बात करिए ना, आप बात करिए नहीं, बातचीत के माध्यम से कुछ बातों का हल और निवारण हो ही सकता है ना। आप लोग बाहर जाकर ये जो बातें करते हो, you're showing a very wrong and a very poor picture about the country. You see, think about the time that Vajpayee was sent abroad as even being a leader of the opposition. Why can't you have that sportsmanship and within yourselves?
Arti, just for context, there are close to 4,000 weapons still in circulation. Mr. Bhamla is right that we are not seeing active eruptions of daily violence, thank God. But we have young men who are armed. You have de facto border lines drawn between the two communities. You have the military trying to facilitate a dialogue, effectively doing the job of the civilian government. So we are far from normal. We are in a dial down violence. Thank God for that. Arti, last thoughts.
Yeah, Barkha, our politics has got so polarized and so bitterly divided that really to expect the opposition and the ruling party to come together, even on an issue as important and as vital as Manipur, I think is really expecting way too much. It's being very, very utopian. And especially with polls just 6, 8, 9 months away, I mean, there is no way that they are going to come together. And that is really our tragedy, that there was a time when on an issue of national importance, you would see the opposition and the ruling party sink their differences and come together. We have seen it time and again in Parliament. We have seen it happen. But unfortunately, in the last 9 years, that has never happened, and it just seems to be getting worse. And I'm
in fact reminded, Yashwant, as I give you the last word, of a phase in Kashmir which was particularly violent, and we had an all-party delegation in which the BJP were then opposition leaders. Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj were part of that delegation. Left, right, Congress, BJP, it didn't matter. And I think the country is looking for that moment. Arti says it's utopian. It isn't going to happen. So just last thoughts, Yashwant.
Well, Barkha, first of all, I remain a die-hard optimist. Regardless of the fault lines, I somehow feel that we are going to overcome this crisis. Way back, I remember when I was studying the Northern Ireland peace process with Professor Colin Irwin, he took me to Belfast and Derry, and weirdly, there were kind of walls segregating the two communities, and they were called peace walls. Peace, as if they cannot see each other, so they would be peace. And I laughed at it. And I cannot think of that kind of solution. But what you are looking at, the tranquility or sense of tranquility right now in Manipur, is no more violence. It's more like they are kind of camping and segregating each other with the thing that they should not be. That's not the kind of solution that I want to see in my India. I want a long-term solution, people meeting, helping, and coexisting with each other. And that can start only when our political parties can stand together. And Barkha, may be completely unrelated, but you mentioned a point, and I did tweet on this thing. We need a session, and we need everybody to come along on the crime against women. That is precisely where I think the glue that we are going to get together for all the warring factions, all the parties, all the political ideologies to come together. Because after Nirbhaya incident, this probably was the second incident which actually shook the billion odd mind, in consciousness in that way. And I genuinely believe, even though Northeast problems are different and in that way, but it would be nice, it would be good if all the political people can agree on having a session on crime against women, on the laws that deal with crime against women, on the capital punishment and everything under the sun, so that we just agree, not to disagree, but agree on certain things, that these are not non-negotiable things, and we shall abide by it. And that's where I stand.
I couldn't agree more, and I think let's end on that note of agreement. I can't believe that anyone would have anything to disagree with what Yashwant has just said. In the meantime, Manipur comes with its own unique sensitivities, complexities, histories, and at the moment, even if there isn't violence, a kind of institutional breakdown, except for the military, which is literally the last institution left standing that's holding the state together. Thank you very much. It's a very delicate situation. Let's hope it gets better. Arti, Yashwant, to Wing Commander Acharya, to Asif, Bhamla sir, and to Anurag Naidu. Thank you. And to our audience, have a good weekend. We'll see you soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work.
If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.